Welcome to Learn to Crochet with MyntKat. This is lesson 2. We're going to learn the slip knot, the chain stitch, and the single crochet stitch. What you need is yarn and a hook. I talked about the selection in my last video, but I'll just mention it again. Get a light color, worsted weight, just a regular yarn, no novelty yarns, and any medium-sized hook that you would like to use. What we need to get started is a slip knot. There are lots of different ways to make slip knots. I personally prefer to just take the yarn, wrap it over my finger, cross it in the front, then wrap it over again, pull the second loop over the first, and then pull the tail. And there's my slip knot. You can also make a slip knot by just taking your yarn, this is the end, make a loop, overlay the tail over the other yarn, then hold it, pull the loop through, and then just pull it tight. And you have a little slip knot. I'm going to do it my own way again, just do it however you're most comfortable. I take my yarn, wrap it over my finger, overlay it in the front, then wrap the yarn over again, pull the second loop over the first, and pull. This is my slip knot with a little tail, which I will later need to sew in the end so we don't have any ends sticking out. We want to put the slip knot on our hook, pull it tight. Don't pull it too tight. You want to have a little wiggle room in there. If it's too tight, you won't be able to get through your stitch later. You want to hold your yarn. I talked about this in the previous video. You can basically hold your yarn however you feel comfortable. I wrap it over my pinky and then let it run over my middle finger, so I can hold my crochet work with my pointer and thumb. But however is most comfortable to you, just wrap it around a finger or two and get started. I'm going to start with a chain stitch now. It's a really basic stitch. So what you do is you hold on to the tail to pull it down a bit. You want to have a little bit of tension on your yarn, not too much, but a little bit. So you yarn over. What this means is you take your hook, slide it under your yarn, pull down a bit so the hook grabs the yarn runs over the hook. This is called a yarn over, and you want to pull it through your loop, and this is a chain stitch. I'm going to make a couple more of these. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and you can see it has this V-stitch look. On the back it has just a back loop. On the front, the V-stitch. You don't see these V-stitches in crochet a lot because they're usually the top of a stitch and you work back into them when you do the next row. You see these in knitting a lot, but not in crochet work. I'm going to do a couple more of these. I want to have, let's say, 6 stitches. So I have 3 already. 4, 5, 6. So this is my foundation chain. You always start, when you have a straight knitting piece, you always start with a foundation chain that you're then going to work into to build some height to your piece. Now I'm going to do the first row in 3 different ways, just to show you different ways to start your crochet piece. The first one I'm going to do is something I've seen a lot of crocheters do, and something I have started with because I didn't know any better, which is working into the top loop. Now I have 6 loops, 6 chain stitches on this foundation chain. You never work into the first one, but you want to work into the second one. If you would be working with higher stitches, like a double crochet, triple crochet, you would have to make a couple extra chain stitches, but for now we're doing single crochet, so we need 1 extra chain stitch that we're not going to work into. We're working into the second stitch from the hook, just into 1 loop, and now we're going to do a single crochet. You do this by doing a yarn over, pulling it through the loop. You now have 2 loops on your hook. You do another yarn over and pull it through both. This is a single crochet stitch. I'm going to do 4 more of this. So once again, you insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both. This is a single crochet stitch. There's another one, and 2 more. 1, 2. So this would be my foundation chain. And I'm going to show you 2 other methods to start your foundation chain. For that I'm going to bind this off with a chain stitch and cut it and pull it through. So now it's anchored, it's not going to open again. This is how you finish a piece of crochet. You will then sew these ends in, but I'm going to do 2 more pieces. So again, I need a foundation chain of 6 chain stitches. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this time I'm going to show you a different method, which I've seen quite a bit as well. You work into the V-stitch. So you insert your hook under the V-stitch. So you have the V-stitch on the top and the back loop on the back. This is just the back loop. And you work your single crochet into this. It is different from the other one where we just did 1 loop. We're now going to do both of them. I find this method really awkward because I find it hard to get my hook aligned to just go into these 2 loops. But like I said, I want to show you a couple different methods of how to start your crochet work, so you can then pick the one that you like best or that you think is easiest. And one more. Again, you want to have the V-stitch on the top, whoops, and the back loop on the bottom. And one more single crochet, and I'm going to bind this off again. And there we go. This is again a foundation chain of 5 with 5 single crochet stitches in the first row. And now I'm going to do a third method, which is my favorite method to start crochet work with because I think it looks much neater and more even, but I will show you that once I have all 3 pieces finished. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this time I'm going to work into the back loop only. So you turn your chain, again, I'm just going to show you again. This is the V-stitch at the front. You have your back loops at the back, so you want to turn it over and work into back loop only. Again, 5 single crochet stitches, this time in the back loops only. And after that, I'm going to show you the difference between these 3 methods. This one I don't want to bind off because I do want to keep going with it. So if you want to take a break from crocheting to make sure your piece doesn't unravel by itself, just pull the loop bigger like this, and then you can leave it laying around or throw it in your bag or whatever. It's not going to unravel because you have a long loop here. Alright, so the first method we did was only in the top loop. So you can see the bottom of the piece is thinner than the top where you have the V-stitch again. So this is a very common method. I've done this for a long time before I found out about other methods. The second method that I showed you was to work into the V-stitch. So you only have the back loop on the bottom. This already looks quite a bit neater than our first method. It just looks more even. However, you still have the bottom edge thinner than the top edge. Now my favorite method, the third one we did, was where we worked into the back loop only, which means that both sides, the bottom and the top, look the same because you have V-stitches on the bottom, V-stitches on the top. The whole piece has the same uniform thickness, and you don't have a lot of variation at the bottom. So you don't have this pesky starting row where you can always see, oh, this is where the whole thing started. If you do it like this, and then, well, for example, if you have to paste pieces together later, you just can't see the starting row. So I find this one to be the neatest and nicest looking way to do it. If you're more comfortable with any of the other ways, go ahead and do that. Sometimes a crochet pattern will tell you a specific way to start your foundation, so go with that. But if it doesn't give you a specific way, do whichever one you like best. I prefer this one. So now we want to put more height onto this piece. So we want to go back to crocheting. We pulled this loop open to put the work down for a while. So now we insert our hook and pull our working yarn back to a nice small loop. And we can start crocheting again. So to turn your crochet piece to work back on this one, obviously you need it on the other side, you again do 1 chain stitch, which will provide the height for the next row. Then turn your piece over, and this time we're going to work into both loops of the V-stitch right here. Again, if your pattern has specific special stitches, it might tell you to just use the front loop, which is this one, the one facing you, or just the back loop, which is this one in the back. But if it doesn't specify anything, you go into both. So you go into the V-stitch and work your next single crochet on top of that. I'm going to do this for the rest of the row. 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have a little bit more height to it, and as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, you don't see the V-stitches in a finished crochet piece. You only see them at the top or the bottom. You don't see them on the side because you actually work into them, so they disappear between the stitches. And in this manner, you can just keep going and make a piece as long as you want. Of course, you can make it wider if you start your foundation chain longer. Make it 15, 20, 50, 200 chain stitches, however many you need. And then you can just add height by doing more single crochet stitches on top of it. There we go. So in this manner you can create really long scarves or blankets, or with different kind of stitches you can create more texture. You can do pretty much anything with crochet as long as you have the right pattern or know enough stitches to make one up on the fly. So in lesson 3 I will show you the half double crochet, double crochet, and triple crochet stitches. But just to review again, I will just show you one more single crochet stitch, and I will put that in a separate video where we have just the stitches, so it's easier to learn if you just look at the stitch. So what you do after you chain 1 to make your turn, you insert your hook into the top of the crochet stitch. Both loops have to be on it. Yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both. This is the single crochet stitch. There. All right, thanks for joining me again, and I hope to see you for lesson 3.